Hello, my name is Beatriz Ramírez, and I'm going to talk about an article by Guerra, 2017. And the name of this article is Students' Perceptions and Expectations of Native and Non-Native Speaking Teachers. This article identified students' attitudes and beliefs toward learning English with native and non-native English speaking teachers. We see that non-native English speaking teachers might be better qualified than native teachers because they have gone through the complex process of acquiring English as a second or foreign language, because they are aware of the linguistic and cultural necessities of the learners. Third, that they may have a detailed consciousness of how mother tongue and target language differ, and consequently, what is problematic for L2 learners. And finally, they have first-hand experience in using a second or foreign language. There are some positive aspects of being a non-native English teacher. For example, that they can provide a good learner model for imitation, to teach languages. They teach language learning strategies more effectively. They can supply learners with more information about the English language. They can anticipate and prevent language difficulties better. They can be more empathetic to the needs and problems of learners. And finally, they can make use of the learner's mother tongue. Well, culturally speaking, not necessarily all native speakers are aware of their culture. And according to Kershaw, 1996, he says that native speaker might not be the one who best understand the native culture, in the sense that he or she might not be able to present a broader and simpler view of the culture appropriate for the learner. And on the other hand, for Majors, 1992, he says that there can only be an ideal native teacher, the one who has achieved a high degree of proficiency in the learner's mother tongue. And he talks about an ideal non-native teacher. And he says that is someone who has achieved near native proficiency in English. We have a research on students' perceptions of native and non-native English speaking teachers. And then we have that none of the surveyed students identified native speaker as a desirable quality. And some students identified native speakers are those with very strong and incomprehensible accents, and non-native teachers as strict with language rules. Well, the main finding was that students regarded non-native teachers as more able to teach and explain grammar, and native teachers were considered perfect models for imitation because they thought that they were fully able to teach conversation classes, and they were perceived as more capable of getting their learners to speak. Then we have this section of where we can see the students' perceptions of differences and similarities among native and non-native teachers. And then they analyzed three aspects. They were the language proficiency, the teaching behavior, and the third aspect was the cultural knowledge. And as you can see, the language proficiency well, the students evaluated the teacher skills such as reading, writing, listening, vocabulary, pronunciation, accent, grammar, and use of colloquial or idiomatic language. Talking about teaching behavior, students evaluated the students' needs, commitment to teaching, confident use of English, focus on accuracy versus fluency, focus on oral skills versus written skills, use of classroom materials, homework assignment, attitude to errors, and use of students' L1. And when we talk about cultural knowledge, well, it was based on the concept of English as a tool for cross-cultural communication. Well, in this study, 32 students participated, and these students were of the languages, literatures, and culture, and languages and literatures at the University of Évora in Portugal, who took English language as a subject in their area of specialization, which was languages and tourism, literatures and arts, or Portuguese English studies. Well, then we have the results, and it says that students tend to view both types of teachers as having complementary strong points. They said that a collaboration between the two will provide a better teaching learning setting for ESL students. Learners perceive non-native teachers as competent teachers, and a large number of students and teachers might still prefer a native speaker model. It says that native teachers are often linguistically restricted to their own dialect and may not be aware of international practices. And it says that also competent non-native teachers might then become an appropriate role model whose language proficiency is realistic and attainable. Then we're going to see something that is really interesting, because if we see the paradigm changes, then we can see that we can see two more methods, which is English as lingua franca or English as an international language. And then with this approach, non-native teachers are better equipped to direct learners in the process of using language in a multicultural and multilingual environment. And then on the other hand, we have that the teacher's expected knowledge of a specific English-speaking culture decreases as learners should be able to develop intercultural skills, which will allow them to become competent users of the language in international communication exchanges. Then what happens with this approach? The English as a lingua franca or English as an international language, then it happens that non-native English speaking teachers may choose to get rid of the Englishness they were expected to acquire. And they can also get rid of the belief that native teachers are the ones who are inherently endowed with better expertise in guiding this process. On the other hand, with this approach of English as a lingua franca and English as an international language, teachers may also leave aside the belief that the native speaker have to be followed, that the British or American norms have to be followed. And also, native teachers stop being considered the ideal teachers. On the other hand, this perspective of considering native teachers as ideal teachers is also modified with this new approach of ELF or EIL perspective, because learners' attitudes towards native or non-native teachers may change significantly, and students expect teachers to be capable of providing them with necessary linguistic and cultural means to achieve that competence. And from an English language teaching perspective, there are not native or non-native teachers. Then we have that Rampton proposed or coined new terms. For example, instead of saying native speaker, it's or native language teacher, is like language expertise. That shifts the emphasis from who you are to what you know. And the term affiliation refers to a connection between people and groups that are considered to be separate or different. And inheritance is concerned with the continuity between people and groups that are felt to be closely linked. Well, in this picture, we say something, we can read something really interesting, because it says, don't assume anything according to your belief. Reality is different. And we say that when we talk about native or non-native teachers, institutions should inspect each native teacher's credentials closely and insist that we don't assume that nationality and ethnicity are the same as language ability and language allegiance. Well, we have here that then the argument about whether native or non-native English speaking teachers are better is becoming irrelevant. Then what we need to consider is the intercultural competence, the teaching skills, the language competence, no matter where teachers were born or where they were brought up. So this is important. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Have a great day.